Welcome to a new video. As you saw by reading the title, I will be sharing 10 of my best tips for traveling here in China. I have been in China for 10 years and I have gone on many adventures here in China. And all those adventures have taught me a lot about what you should do and what you shouldn't do when you're traveling here. So I thought I would share those tips with you so you can increase the chance of having a great time when you are coming to China. So without further ado, let's get started. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey. In this list, I'm going to be counting down to number 1. So the first tip I'm going to be sharing with you is number 10. And tip number 10 is be prepared for all the stares. Although China has become more popular as a travel destination in recent years, not all Chinese citizens have seen a foreigner in person yet. So sometimes they can get really excited when they see someone who looks foreign. I've experienced it many times. I'm visiting a tourist site and before long I become the tourist site. The result? They want to take a photo with me instead of with the site they've come to visit. If you don't mind people wanting to take pictures with you and you're happy to do this, you're going to have a lot of fun and make lots of new friends.
Excuse me, can we have a photo?
Well, I'm vlogging just for people who want to take pictures with me. Sure, yeah, okay. The important thing to remember is that the local people are just very curious about you and don't mean to be rude at all. On number 9, we find a very practical tip, and that is start preparing your trip to China early. Unlike some other Asian countries, you can't just arrive at the airport and enter on a visa on arrival.
So we just made it. We got our visas.
China requires visitors to apply for a tourist visa, and getting one can take quite some time. It depends on your nationality what kind of paperwork you need to provide, but expect that it will take a while before you have gathered all the necessary paperwork. One of the things that you will need for sure when applying for your visa is your itinerary and the booking confirmations for all the hotels that you are staying at. And since applying for the visa can take some time, my advice is to start about 2 months in advance. That way you will have plenty of time. And if you get your passport and visa back early, you can already start purchasing your train tickets, which is good to do it early because those train tickets usually sell out quickly. By the way, let me introduce myself for a moment. My name is Yvonne and I am originally from the Netherlands. In 2010, I came to China and I haven't left since. So I've been living here for 10 years. And to celebrate that, I decided to make a special video series, which you are watching now. This is the 7th episode, and in the previous episode I talked about traveling by train, just traveling in China, eating Chinese food, reasons why I love living here, and more. So if you are interested in living in China or just in China, or if you want to learn more about me, check out those videos. You'll find the links to those in the description below. I just mentioned that I am Dutch, and if you know a little bit about the Dutch, you might know that they are very practical. So tip number 8 is another very practical tip. Bring toilet paper and hand sanitizer. If you watched my previous video in which I talk about tips for traveling by train, this tip is not new for you, but as it is so important, I had to mention it again. Although bathrooms have improved a lot in recent years, they're not always ideal. Missing locks, overflowing trash cans, or bathrooms without doors, I've seen them all. And I've seen most of the bathrooms without toilet paper. That is why toilet paper and hand sanitizer are essentials to bring in your day bag. We find another essential item on number 7. When you're coming to China, bring a list of keywords and phrases that you think you're going to be using a lot when traveling in China. It is true that more and more people are able to speak English, but you won't be able to rely on English when you're traveling in China. So my tip is to learn a couple of words you think you'll use a lot. Learn how to say them and save the characters and meanings of those words in your phone. Words and phrases I suggest you to learn are thank you, how much does it cost, I don't eat meat, or I don't eat peanuts. If you have allergies, that's very useful. And save those in your phone so you can always show them when you are at a restaurant or somewhere where you need to use those words. If you want to learn how to count in Chinese without speaking, you should check out the video that pops up now. It's a very old video, so let me know by liking that video if you want me to make a new one. 早一点起床 is tip number 6. When you're coming to China to travel here, you'll have to wake up early if you want to beat the crowds. When you're waking up early, the chances are that you will be one of the first ones to arrive at the Terracotta Army, the Avatar Mountains, or the Forbidden City, and you can take photos without the crowds. Or if you're not a fan of waking up at the crack of dawn, try and go between 11 and 12 o'clock, because that is when the tour groups leave the sites to go have lunch, and the chances are that those sites will be less busy. But honestly, be prepared for crowds when you're traveling to famous sites here in China, as they're almost always busy. Don't like crowds? Well, continue watching if you want to hear another tip on how you can avoid them. We're halfway down the list of tips for traveling in China. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, or even better, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my content. Alright, let's continue and let's move on to number 5. If you have seen all the videos in this series, you won't be surprised that this tip is on the list. If you come to China, it is absolutely necessary that you eat as much food as you can. So tip number 5 is eat all the food. The food in China is amazing and extremely diverse. You won't have to eat the same meal twice if you're traveling here for a week or two, as each region has its own cuisine. If you're up for it, you can even do a cooking course and learn how to make some of those delicious meals yourself. If you have no idea what Chinese food is like, make sure to check out my video in which I talk about my 10 favorite dishes and meals here. And speaking of checking out videos, if you're traveling to China and you want to continue watching the videos of your favorite YouTubers, it is important to follow up on tip 4, install a VPN. As you probably know, many websites and social media platforms are blocked in China and can't be accessed. We're not only talking about YouTube, but also Instagram, Facebook, and many news sites and even Gmail are blocked. A VPN doesn't only allow you to access these websites, it also protects your personal information when logging on to your hotel's Wi-Fi. I use ExpressVPN to access all those sites and it works really well. So if you are considering one, check out ExpressVPN. If you check out the description box below, you will find a discount link that will give you 49% discount on your first purchase. On number 3, we have another app that is super useful and that you really should install when you're coming to China. It is a translation app. Even when you follow up on tip number 7, a translation app is an absolute must. Pronunciation is key when speaking Mandarin, and believe me if I say that there's a high chance people won't understand you when you're trying to ask directions or ask where the bathroom is. 所以你必须要用一个 APP. Personally, I use Pleco and Google Translate, and they generally work really well. I use them when I need to find out the meaning of a character or phrase. Personally, I prefer Pleco as it gives you the option to actually write the characters in the app, which is super helpful if you are asking a Chinese person to show you the meaning of a certain word or let you know how to write the character for a certain word. Earlier, I mentioned crowds and waking up early. Well, if you want to have a higher chance of avoiding the crowds, you really have to follow tip number 2, and that is avoid traveling during Chinese holidays. Chinese New Year and the national holiday are the most important and longest holidays in China, and people will use these holidays to visit family or to travel. Millions of people will be on airplanes and trains, and popular sites like the Great Wall and the Bund in Shanghai will be flooded with people. To give you an idea, during the national holiday, I either stay here in Beijing or I leave the country, because traveling in China during national holiday is just a nightmare. And with the holidays behind us, we are almost ready to reveal the number 1 tip for when you're traveling here in China. But before I reveal that one, I want to ask you if you have any good tips for traveling in China. If you do, leave it in a comment below, because that will help other travelers. And if you like this video, like I said earlier, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. We only need a few more before I hit 10,000 subscribers, and it would be awesome if we can make that happen with this video. Alright, time to reveal the number 1. My number 1 tip for when you're coming to China is be ready for an adventure and a culture shock. All those tips I mentioned before are very useful and you should really follow up on them. But being ready for an adventure and being open-minded will really help you to have a great time here. Yes, it's going to be very different compared to what you're used to back home. But if you are ready for just a lot of new impressions and new things, new food, and be open and patient, then you're going to have a great time. I'm not saying that you're going to have an easy time all the time. There will be frustrations. You will have rough days and rough moments where you're getting frustrated with not being able to communicate, not being able to push your way through to the crowds. But when you get back home, you will be looking back at this trip and you will realize that your vacation to China is going to be one of those vacations you will never forget. And with the number 1 done, we are at the end of the video. In my next video, I will be talking about some of those frustrations that I just mentioned. So if you want to know what still frustrates me after 10 years of living in China, make sure to not miss that video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye!